Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Supernatural Last Call. And this is another episode of half and half okay. And mainly the portions were dealing with Sam and everything going on, actually advancing the overarching plot forward. And the parts that I actually kind of enjoyed were the Dean centric portions of this episode as he was on his own kind of hunt of the week kind of thing. And again, as you can just see, the stories fight with each other pretty much for screen time and real estate. Sometimes you have some kind of weird cuts, be like, okay, between the different stories, and then you also have the difficulty of developing two stories in tandem. It's really strange that I can go to the kind of more recent episodes of South Park and show them as examples of how to have concurrent storylines going at once that can actually advance the plot of the episode going forward without sacrificing any kind of plot potential in it. So, let's see here. We begin with pretty much our show of what's going to be our kind of hunt of this week. We see two girls at a bar. One of them is dealing with her drunk friend and goes to her car, and she's trying to get her inside, but she's decided that it's time to get sick. And she goes off towards the side of the bar that they've left and starts throwing up. And we see in the background that the girl is something has gotten into the car or whatnot. And when the girl turns around, she sees that even the car is gone. It's like, okay, that's not good. Let's kind of see how this works. So we get into the bunker and we see that Dean is pretty much trying to look for a hunt and everything and kind of get himself back into the game. And then he comes upon the headline that my friend and her car were pretty much raptured. It's like, okay. And goes into the kitchen and we see that Sam and Eileen are making up for being pretty much hungover and make all this kind of food and all that. And Dean's like, I'll kind of leave on my own and all that and just get my own head clear and all that. Saying no to bacon, it's like, okay. And he's like, yeah, you and Eileen just do your own kind of stuff and everything. He's like, yeah. Pretty much almost finger gunning it. Now, I almost would have accepted Dean doing the finger guns for Sam at that point, but he's like, nah, he's got his own kind of thing, goes off. And that's kind of where it starts to diverge. And let's get into the Sam and Eileen portion because they pretty much are going to go on a Chuck Lilith hunt for information. And okay, Eileen has been kind of a troubled character mainly because she had an interesting introduction and nothing has been done with her. I and I don't fault anything with the actress. They just don't do anything with her really in this episode other than potentially Sam Booty. That's really much it. Now, granted, she worries about Sam after certain things occur, but it's just we get nothing onto her character other than okay, she likes Sam. So they're like going through and they're pretty much burnt out on their research, and we pretty much get the idea that they want to go and do it. But of course, Castiel comes in to cockblock that shit. And I'm like, yeah, I know you've been calling me and everything, but I'm here now, so pretty much, let's see. I've been thinking about, and it's really kind of strange because the way this plot point is brought up is just so kind of almost random because we haven't had any really thoughts that Castiel has been thinking about the gun wound and the equalizer and everything. Because Sam brings up that Lilith is back in play, doesn't bring into account that the gun has been melted, but Cass has evidently been thinking that that wound, they pretty much had used a portion of Sam's soul to shoot God. It's like, okay, so it's like, hey, there's probably a link thing going on. Let me kind of like poke it in that motherfucker. And it's like, okay, no bad things will come from this, will it? He fucking uses his angel powers on him, which, by the way, don't flicker or fade or do anything in this portion because the plot demands that it works so that Sammy is like, holy shit, he like does the thing to the wound and then fucking blasts him back, and now they're going, all right, what the fuck's going on with Sam? He's not waking up. So Cass calls Sergey, the dude who fucked him over previously. It's like, all right, I kind of need your help. I'm calling in the debt. He's like, oh no, I'm going to do stuff with my niece or whatnot. I was like, if you don't, I'm going to come and I'm going to burn you alive till you're dead. And Sergey's like, okay. And then Castiel gets in contact with somebody else. Like, ooh, spooky. But Sergey comes in, pretty much just like, the dude's dying. Pretty much his soul is like connected to something and you fucking rubber banded the thing and it's about to break and everything and he's gonna die. I'm like, okay. Granted, I'm not opposed to the concept, but it's just... Usually you could get a little bit better in how you explain these kind of things. Now granted, there's a delicate balance of showing and telling and info dumping and just kind of doing this and being like, alright, cool, I kind of get the concept. It's just more kind of awkward and clunky in its execution. So, okay, but I could do something about this if you give me the key to, like, Death's library. Because evidently the British Men of Letters, well, the Men of Letters had that. And, well, specifically this bunker. I'm like, how the fuck did you even know that? Because Sergey was like remarking, oh, the fabled Men of Letters bunker and everything. I'm like, okay. He's like, hey, yeah, the Men of Letters had this key. I want it. And Castiel's like, I'm not playing that game. This is your niece. I have alternate universe Bobby Singer. Now, granted, he didn't call it alternate universe Bobby Singer, but that's the only one that's alive and kicking at the moment. We'll do something to her. And I understand you're trying to make Cass seem like a hard ass. But in all actuality, he could have just went to Sergey and said, you know what? If he could have just fucking flooded out and grabbed her and been like, hey, your uncle's a prick and is pretty much making this person die. So yeah, how about that? That would have actually been a more interesting way to do it instead of trying to make him look badass and calling in Bobby Singer, who, even though he's from the alternate universe, doesn't seem like he would, like, roll along with a plan to do something like that. And Sergey's like, fine. So he does a thing, and he's like, hey, don't worry, he'll be alright. Sam does some stuff. Eileen's like, rah! And then he's like, yeah, I'm better and everything. And Sergey's like, hey, I like this new you, Castiel, and buggers off. And Sam has, like, visions of stuff of seeing what's going on in God's head and everything, and pretty much what we have seen to this season to now. And that's pretty much it until we get to the end of the episode. So, the better portions deal with Dean kind of getting back into his groove. You see him talking to a sheriff. He decides to go with the Agent Duke alias and get some information that the one chick that had disappeared pretty much didn't really have anything tying her to the town. She was probably going to go off to LA and everything and try and be an actor or something, and then would be back in like a couple months or whatnot, so that's why they're not really doing anything for him. Now, granted, I was intrigued by this sheriff character because I thought it would be kind of a bit part, and it was kind of almost alluding to potentially being kind of similar to the Cass episode that we saw, like, hey, it's the sheriff that's done it. But no, he just gives pretty much the information, says that Dean should be going to Hollywood as well, and that he could have been, like, the sheriff himself could have been the next Denzel and all that before going away, and it's like, alright, whatever. But evidently she and her friend had frequented, because he wanted to get to the friend, this bar called Swayze's. It's like, okay. A lot of different kind of Roadhouse and Dukes of Hazzard references. Alright. And he gets to the Swayze bar. Of course, the one chick that's asking for a cell phone because they have a no cell phone policy there, pretty much checking him out and everything. And they're like, okay, maybe Dean will get something in this episode. And we see that somebody is singing in the bar, and we find it's this character, Lee Webb, and Dean has a history with him. And I was actually intrigued with Lee Webb's character because he's played by an actor that I've seen in the show Angel playing the character Lindsay. And granted, even though he is pretty much just a guest kind of person, especially with how this story ends, I liked how they had an interplay with him and Dean, since they'd evidently hunted together under John Winchester, and he kind of gives him the lowdown of what had been going on, that his dad has been dead for pretty much 13 years, lining up with like season 2 and all that, and just kind of getting back into the groove because that's the dude's bar and everything, and just kind of catching up, trading up stories of like triplets and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay. And we also see that they start singing Just Some Good Old Boys, pretty much the Dukes of Hazzard theme. I'm like, okay, and it kind of works for Lindsay and Dean, but I don't have a problem overall that they had a musical number. It took some time, and my gripe with it is, again, this is the final season. You have to use your time effectively. We aren't getting that very much over there, but I'm glad that we kind of got them here, because he made a funny little joke trying to get Dean on stage for it. It was like, you can't just sit in the corner lip syncing Eye of the Tiger. I'm like, okay, that's a kind of meta joke that I don't have a problem with, because it worked within their kind of relationship. We've seen that Lee kind of messes with Dean on the same level. I mean, you would almost kind of figure them out to be brothers with the way that they kind of work and operate. I'm like, okay, it's kind of cool. See them doing their kind of own little thing. And then, of course, we see that the other girl has popped in. She's getting harassed by some people. And, of course, they go Roadhouse rules and throw them out of the bar. And that was pretty good. Now, granted, I kind of wished that there had been a fight scene here, because we get a good fight scene towards the end. But, of course, we've had to deal with the Sammy stuff and everything, and you gotta cut some stuff here. So he talks to the girl, and the girl thinks that her friend was so good and everything that her and her car were raptured. And Lee's like, no, you don't rapture Car, because evidently he had a kind of hunt that kind of really took him out of it, and he started up the bar and everything. And, of course, he's going, all right, looks like we're going into, you got to be good guy Dean, so how about we go and check out the lake and everything, because that would be kind of where we'd be at, because we had seen that the girl had been taken to some place and pretty much was having her blood sucked by some weird creature. And we also get the one woman is like, hey, there's also the junkyard and everything, so they decide to split up. Dean goes to the junkyard, is able to find her car, finds it in the trunk, gets pistol whipped by Lee. It's like, okay, he's the bad guy. And we find Dean wrapped up, got his, like, blood thing, like, almost like a human Capri Sun, to the thing down there, and he said, yeah, I had a bad hunt, and I pretty much saw that the world was broken. There's no good or evil. And Dean also kind of had been alluding to, as they'd been talking throughout the show, about like bigger things and stuff before outright getting into the God stuff, as this kind of fight continues. And he's like, what happened, man? He's like, no, I found this thing, and as long as I keep it fed, it gives me wealth, and it gives me health, and I'm good. I want to get mine. Pretty much. I deserve to find happiness and all that. And Dean, of course, can't really abide by this. He's killing people, innocent people, but of course Lee's like, nobody's innocent. This world's broken and fucked. And you kind of, I really do like it in showing that Dean has been, now granted, he's been at this point every so often, because of course the wheel of time keeps spinning, and we come back around to these points again and again. But it really works to show that Dean has been kind of in that place with the whole God and Chuck revelations, and he can't abide Lee doing that. So he's able to break out, and we hear the scuffle as Lee's upstairs like, oh shit, and of course Dean comes up and we see he rolls the head out. Side note, I'm kind of getting annoyed that most of the monsters that we are getting, bar from Lee, because Dean pretty much puts him with the monster category as well, and are defeated mainly by being shot, stabbed, or their head chopped off, and we never get a clear kind of thing from the lore about it. Now, in the beginning, you had to stab things with certain specialized things to kill them. I don't have a problem with that. There used to be lore connections here, but the Merid that was pretty much breaking its way out as Dean had gotten out of the chair. He just evidently can chop its head off, and that kills it. Didn't need to try and figure out. We could have gotten a scene that he's like down there trying to figure out if he's got something down there that could kill it, which really would not be that much of a problem, because if Lee has been doing this long enough, he would have a contingency plan for in case the monster broke out, and he would need to kill it. But Dean pretty much rolls out. He's able to find a shotgun underneath because it's a bar in Texas, which, by the way, if you need a married to make a bar kind of work in Texas, I mean, granted, the bar industry is nuts, but and trying to make a living is nuts. I'm like, you kind of picked a really good thing to do. I mean, just market research, man. You don't need to use a monster to pretty much make that business kind of profitable. You just got to do the right stuff to figure out how to do the business right. But some people just kind of want the shortcut, and that's the biggest thing here. That's what really sets Lee apart, because he didn't want to do the work. He wanted what he was owed, and he wanted to be happy. And Dean can't abide that because he is hurting and killing people, and he's doing it for wrong. And we see them do their gun shootout, and they come to terms, and Lee just asked him if he could walk away, and he's like, I can't do that. And they have a pretty nice, good scuffle going on, and we see him breaking some stuff and everything. Lee using a pretty good pull cue kind of thing, but Dean's able to turn it around as he stabs him, and he's like, why'd you have to, what's your skin in this? He's like, because somebody's got to care. He's like, well, if it was anybody, I'm glad it was you, brother, pretty much. And Lee then dies, and Dean goes back out. And I liked it. It was a good kind of story. I just wish it had been expanded upon better and given the time it was needed to breathe and really kind of get into the headspace of Dean and Lee and really show that kind of dangerous edge that Dean's skirting towards of God keeps doing all these insane, shitty things to people in this universe. And is there any point in fighting? And he sees that the world's broken, so why should I attempt to fix it? Why don't I get mine, even if it means fucking over other people? And Dean couldn't abide that. You gotta try and fix it. You gotta try and care. You gotta help. You gotta do what you can. Lee even brought up in their portion of the story that, hell, Dean's probably earned a break or two. And he has. But this is like the big threat. So he then gets back to the bunker. Him and Cass, it's like, yeah, Sammy was in trouble, but he's alright. And I was like, what the fuck? I finally got your... Because his cell phone was taken away in the bar, so that works out in a nice kind of plot way. And they go, and Sam's like, I was in Chuck's head. He's weak. He's really weak. We can beat him. And I'm like, yeah, we've... Okay. I feel this kind of flip-floppiness going on, because first one person's like, and first one of the brothers is like, this is hopeless and crazy. It's like, but we can beat him. And then it's like, they just keep shifting. And the seesawing is my issue with it. I mean, I don't mind having doubts and everything and new information getting popped up. It's like, okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's get some concrete plans and everything going. I'm like, alright, cool. Let's move forward. And then we see the preview. Adam is making an appearance again. Thank God. Do I have any hope that it will be done to satisfaction? Not really. We'll have to see kind of what goes on, because I think we saw Adam and not Michael, which introduces some problematic elements of either Michael's left and we've got a new vessel and we've got to fucking deal with another crazy archangel running around again. Another Michael. I hope not. I hope not. I hope not. And then, what happens when God dies? Or God is reaped? Does the universe end? These are just, since we're getting into more of the plot going forward, the endgame scenario would be Chuck defeated. How are those kind of scenarios worked out? Because Death has said that eventually Death reaps God. Okay? I would think that that would be the most logical conclusion. Does that mean the universe is gone? Does that mean someone else steps up? Is the universe tied into Chuck being alive? Or could Amara take the place and then she could somehow shift from being the darkness into a creator, and then another darkness pops up? Essentially, another sibling would appear and have the balance be done that way. I don't know if we'll get any answers that way. Since we're going further along this plot line and we're getting older kind of plot lines to be brought up and actually tied in, these are just some thoughts and theories of what I would hopefully see would be going on with this, because those are big kind of questions. Because it's one thing to be like, okay, God's actively meddling and everything. If the only way to stop him from that is to kill him, does that mean the end of existence and everything? Or would other primal forces come into effect and be like, you know what, I kind of want to try my hand at doing this? Those are some interesting things that could occur. But again, it is upon the execution and potential of these writers and showrunners to do those things, and we'll see how that goes. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.